All right, hello YouTube, it's Lion here with Hobbies of Man once again, and today we're going to be doing a wrap up for the month of June. So this one's going to be a little bit similar to the last wrap up because I'm going to be switching over to being in my parents' house for the next 2 months. So I'm going to record the first bit here because I have finished reading all of the comic books that I'm going to be reading this month, and then I'll have all of the other segments done at my house in my other room. So. Let's shift to the other video so you guys can see what I've been watching, and then we'll come back here. So, okay, so let's talk about what I've been watching this month. It wasn't really all that much. I watched Obi-Wan Kenobi about 2 times, and I'm planning to watch it one more time here before the month ends, just so I can review it. But I didn't really love it. I didn't really hate it either. It was like a 7 out of 10, 6.5 out of 10. There was a lot of elements there that I loved. A lot of the scenes were really beautiful looking. Like Obi-Wan holding the stones was cool. Darth Vader happens to be like pretty awesome, except for like convoluted things where he like doesn't kill Reva, even though he kills everyone else. And I didn't like Reva at all. And honestly, the addition of her character really tanked the series for me. My respect to the actress. I feel that she's in a very similar position to the way that Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen were back in the day when they were doing the prequels. But her character didn't add anything to the story. The actress didn't seem to find the character for herself until about halfway through the story. The direction of it didn't seem to be that good, and the writing was pretty preposterous. It was pretty bad. Like, I'm not a writer, I'm not a TV person at all, but like I've seen enough things to know that like a lot of it didn't make sense. And it didn't make sense, like, even outside of the fact that a lot of stuff in Star Wars doesn't make sense, right? Well, that's actually not that true. A lot of things in Star Wars do make sense within the trilogy that they're in. They just maybe don't make sense when you connect the 2 trilogies, right? But it just felt really, like, redundant. Like, Reva's character was supposed to be one of these, like, rhyming characters, one of these things that's supposed to, like, show Darth Vader through like this secondary character, or show Obi-Wan's growth through the secondary character. But I didn't give a shit about the secondary character, Reva. So like all of the stuff that was supposed to be important about her didn't matter to me. Like if it was a separate show that was called Star Wars Inquisitors and it followed her from the end of Order 66 to now, and then we saw her confront Vader, I would have been a lot more invested in her as a character. But because she was shoehorned into the Obi-Wan story, I couldn't give 2 shits about her. So, I don't know. I didn't really like the character all that much. And so all of the, 45 minutes to an hour that was dedicated to her felt like it was stolen from Obi-Wan. And so I don't like her as a character. But, like, everything else, like, everything about Obi-Wan was okay. Like, there wasn't anything that was egregious, like, except maybe the fact that he let one, Jedi guy die. And then, 2 episodes later, he was like, bro, I gotta sacrifice myself for these whack-ass people that are kind of helping other Jedi. Like, maybe you should have sacrificed yourself for the actual Jedi. Maybe he would have done more for the galaxy than, these random Force-sensitive kids that have no training, right? So, I don't know. It doesn't really work for me, but like I kind of get what they're going for. So I at the end of the day, it's Star Wars. I have a lot of goodwill for Star Wars, and they didn't completely fail, so I don't have a complete issue with the story. But given that I care a lot more about Obi-Wan than I care about Boba Fett, I'm pretty disappointed with the show. So I don't know. It's not that big of a deal, but it is upsetting. So yeah, then I watched 4 episodes of Jujutsu Kaisen with my roommates, and I didn't end up liking Jujutsu Kaisen. I thought the animation was good. The voice acting was okay as well. I think we watched it in Japanese with subs, and it sounded okay. But since I don't know Japanese, I feel like it doesn't matter if the voice acting is good or not, because I don't know anything about it, right? But I don't know. But the story didn't really feel appealing. Like, there was nothing special about it. Like, it was just like Kakashi teaching a shitty version of Naruto, and the shitty version of Naruto being more like, I don't know, like modern-esque. Like, I don't know, it was really lame. Like, I didn't really feel like there was anything special about it. It all felt very like derivative, even though, you know, Shonen Jump series are basically a derivative of them, of each other. But this one felt like extra derivative, with just like a nice visual veneer, and it didn't really work for me. But I don't know, maybe I'm just being harsh on it. Maybe I was just in a bad mood when I watched it. I really liked the movie though. I just didn't like the series. It didn't really feel very important or meaningful at all. Then I watched Top Gun Maverick for a second time, and I really enjoyed it. I actually wanted to go watch it again, and me and my dad were actually going to go. My sister and my mom didn't really care, but me and my dad were trying to go. But then we got COVID, basically this past week. So, you know, all of those plans went to shit. But I really enjoyed Top Gun Maverick. It was really cool. It was basically the Star Wars Trench Run, the movie, but like IRL, and I thought it was fun. I just really enjoyed the Top Gun Maverick compared to the first one. I watched the first one a few days before I watched the sequel, and I think it did a really good job at like capturing the original essence of the first one. This like vaguely homoerotic sports movie, but also like managed to modernize it enough to make it interesting and valid for modern audiences. And I thought that was really, really cool. You know, there's some issues with the movie. Like, it's not perfect, but it is quite good. It's a great sequel. It is a copy of the first one with some tweaks, with some additions, with a lot of new character, and I really liked it. There was a lot of themes of like fatherhood and, you know, camaraderie and brotherhood and all of these types of things that I really enjoyed, and they really resonated with me. So I really liked it. I thought it was really fun. And then I watched the first episode of Miss Marvel, and I dropped it because I didn't really find anything about it to be meaningful. The biggest complaint I have is that like is a representation thing, and hear me out, because I don't really dislike the representation. I think it's really meaningful for a lot of people, not myself. I don't really give a shit about the, you know, like, oh, there's a Mexican guy on TV and I'm Mexican. Wow. You know, I don't really care about that stuff. But I think that there's a lot of people that care. And I'm really happy for them that they get to have these characters. But, you know, as someone that doesn't care and someone that is non-white, watching this TV show about this non-white character that somehow really cares about being non-white, like the way everything is framed feels like it's made for white people to be like, oh, that's what brown people feel like. And it didn't really work for me. However, there was a lot of things in the show that felt really familiar to me, even though I'm not Pakistani, I'm Mexican. There's a lot of similarities in the way that our families act and are with each other that I saw reflected in Miss Marvel. So I think they did a good enough job at like presenting it. It's just like it went a little too far sometimes, and it felt like they were like showing it to people that wouldn't understand, and it felt forced. And so it wasn't really enjoyable to see it, even though they did a like decent job of it. But other than that, like the story of it just didn't feel interesting. Like the first episode didn't grab me the same way Moon Knight did. And so I really didn't feel like watching the next episode. But you know, maybe when it finishes, I might binge it because I don't really have an issue with doing so. I just didn't really feel the need to. So, yeah. And the last show that I've been watching this month has been Outlander season 5. Me and my parents watched Outlander during the pandemic, and it was a really fun show. It was really, really interesting. My parents really like it. I like it a lot too. It's very dramatic, and you know, it's basically a soap opera that's very like historical and has some fantasy elements to it, and I liked it a lot actually. And it's really satisfying to watch, and just the way things happen is really cool. And just really enjoyable. It's also very raunchy, so it's a little uncomfortable to watch with my parents sometimes, but overall, it's just a really good show, and I'm really enjoying this season so far. Although this one kind of does separate itself a lot from the more like action-heavy earlier parts of the story. This one still has action every once in a while, but a lot of it is more internal human conflicts, and I don't really have an issue with that. I think it's really cool, actually. And it works really nicely, and I'm really excited to see how it goes on from there, because I've been watching it on Netflix, and Netflix has like one season every 2 years whenever the new season comes out. So it's going to be a while before I watch the next season, but I'm really excited about, you know, what I've been watching about this season so far. I think I'm on episode 10 out of 12, so I'm really looking forward to finishing it up here in this month. So yeah, that's all I watched. Okay, and we're back to what I've been reading. So let's start with the comic books. And then I'll record the first half of the manga stuff later. So let's go with just the comic books right now. So first, Obi-Wan Kenobi issue 1. Really not much to say about this one. It wasn't really that interesting. I just got it for the cover, and I probably will get the next volume of this, but I'm not too sure if that will be the case. I definitely want to, but a lot of times with Marvel, it just seems like I'm collecting for the sake of collecting and not really because I'm enjoying the stories. And I really want to change that because it's just a waste of money and it doesn't really provide me all that much enjoyment. So I really have to change my mind about collecting Marvel and DC comic books, but I definitely like comics from indie publishers. And that really is what this brought me to realize. But at least for now, I am going to continue collecting Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's only five issues, so there really isn't like too much of an investment, but it is still, you know, quite a lot over the time period that it's going to be. So yeah, here's issue 1. It doesn't really have anything interesting in it. Then we have issue 1 of Bella and Valeria, Sword versus Sorcery. This is a really interesting story. It's, from what I understand, a different story or a new story, but it deals with 2 Conan the Barbarian characters, Bella and Valeria, who were both at one point lovers of Conan the Barbarian, as far as I understand it. And in this one, we follow Bella as she has awoken from the dead, and she manages to cross paths with Valeria, and then they work together in order to figure out why Bella has come back from the dead. And it's a really interesting story. I actually really like it a lot, and the art style is pretty cool. I like it quite a lot. It is very pulpy, very campy, and very kind of old school pulp novel-esque, and I like that a lot. It's very cool. Then we have Sheena 5 and Sheena 6, and this one transfers or moves on from the action-heavy, like stuck in this biosphere thing, into a more like vaguely political kind of situation for about half in an issue, and then it turns into more of a jungle, you know, like adventure kind of story, and it's pretty cool. I quite like it. I like the art style a lot. I like the covers, and the story is pretty interesting. I really like the aesthetic of a jungle girl, so I'm mostly collecting it for that reason, but I am enjoying the story quite a bit, which is something that I can't always say about Marvel and DC comics. So yeah, that Supermassive, which is awesome. It's a very cool crossover event between 3 different Image titles. Rogue Sun, which is a really cool story that I just recently started picking up. Radiant Black, which is a story that is not that interesting, but it is more or less like Power Rangers, but with like characters that are in their 20s and 30s. And it is working up to being interesting. It just kind of takes a long time to really establish new characters, right? And then it just kind of is a difficulty of creating new characters in a system where you get 20 pages a month, right? So it's kind of difficult, but yeah. And then we get introduced to this cool character here who is called Inferno Girl Red, and it's really awesome. They team up and have a battle together, and they have this really awesome moment where they all power up after getting their powers back, which is really, really cool. I like it a lot. It has very awesome kind of like tokusatsu vibes. You know, like it feels like a Power Rangers event, like Forever Red or something, which is really cool. I like that a lot. And then Dark Knights of Steel 6. This one was okay. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't amazing. Then we have Bella and Valeria 2, which is cool. I really like this one. I like the story in general, but just the plot line of this one is really weird, and it's very sapphic, and there's a lot of going on between them two, and it's a pretty interesting story. Then Devil's Reign 6, which was disappointing. There really wasn't much to this one. I didn't really feel connected with the story. I also feel like there's a big jump in storytelling between the 5th issue and the 6th issue, and I don't know if that's because I haven't read the 5th issue in a while, or because there really was a skip in the story, and I just didn't pick up on that because I didn't pick up any of the secondary Devil's Reign titles. I don't know. I didn't really like it. I'm probably going to get rid of it at some point. Sweet Paprika 10 continues to be a fun telenovela, soap opera type story, and it's really, really good. I really enjoy it. I really like it. I like Mirka Andolfo's art style so much. It's really wacky, but really good as well. And it's a little bit less raunchy now than it was earlier in the series, but I think that's just because it's really focusing on the drama right now, so it's going to get back to that raunchiness in a little bit here soon, I think. Then we have Dark Knights of Steel 7, probably one of the best issues that we've had so far. just because of this really awesome image here of Beast Boy turning into a dragon. Let's see if I can pull it up. Where is it? Let's see. Right, where is it? Right here. Okay, found it. Just because of this, it makes the issue worthwhile. I just really enjoyed the aesthetic style of this story. And I think that the way it's being handled is okay. It's not horrible, but it's not amazing. I think it's just taking a long time to pick up. And it feels like it's going to, and then it just continues to build up. So I'm really excited to see when it finally manages to build up to that awesome moment. Then we have Moon Knight 10. I feel like I missed something between 9 and 10, but I think that is still pretty interesting. I'm quite liking the story of Moon Knight a lot. And the artistic style of this story is just so cool. There's so many moments where Moon Knight just looks so insanely like different from everything that I've ever seen before. Like these moments here with Khonshu just look really, really cool. And then Rogue Sun. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And Rogue Sun is basically the Power Ranger of New Orleans. And he's pretty cool, really interesting. I think he's a legacy character from an earlier time period. I'm not too sure, honestly, because it kind of feels like it, because this story deals with a young teenager taking over the mantle from his dead father, and then getting his dead father's spirit to train him, because, they're in Louisiana and they're in New Orleans, so there has to be, magical witchy stuff. And it's pretty cool, actually. It's like a magical tokusatsu character, basically, and I really like it. It's really cool. The aesthetic of Rogue Sun is really awesome, and the way the colors and the storytelling it develops is really, really cool. And I'm quite happy with this story. I really like it. I think it's really interesting. It does have a bit of that kind of like teens with attitudes kind of feel to it, because our main character is a very kind of messed up young 17, 18-year-old, and it doesn't really kind of bog down in the kind of like CSW, or not CSW, sorry, CW, like teen glee drama type story like Kyle Higgins' Darkhawk or something like that. It manages to, make that part of the edgy main character without making it like the main focus. So it's pretty cool. I hope that this gets popular enough to get an animated, work like the same way Invincible did, because I think it'd be really cool. Then the last 2 comic books that I read here this month are Death Dealer 1 and 2. These are based on Frank Frazetta's artwork. Frank Frazetta is a very well-known artist for pulp novels. His art has been on Conan, on John Carter of Mars. He basically drew everything in the 20s and 30s, if I remember correctly, and he inspired a lot of further artists like Boris Vallejo, and there's another pinup artist guy that did art very similar to him. But anyways, there's this image, which is the first one. It's this character that is a Viking-esque man with a giant axe on a big black horse. And from there, they develop a story, which is very similar to a Conan story. It also really reminds me of Barbaric, if you guys have read that, by, I think it's Vault Comics. And it's really, really cool. I like it a lot. I also really like that the creators, the artists of this, really managed to convey a lot of the really weird, like, plump musculature that Frank Frazetta is really well known for in their art style and in the way that they depict female characters and male characters a lot. I don't know how to describe it, but the best way to say it is that Frank Frazetta really likes his plump muscles, and he manages, or whoever draws this manages to convey that plumpness of the muscles a lot. Very, very similar to the way Frank Frazetta did, and I like that a lot. I think it's really, really cool. So, yeah, that's all the comic books that I read this month. I probably won't read any more unless I manage to go to a comic book shop while I'm chilling with my parents. But I very much doubt it, because there really isn't anyone that's near them. But I don't know. I might read some comic books that I have at home in collected editions. I'm not too sure. I really don't think so, though. So this should be the last comic book that I read this month. And I hope you guys enjoyed this segment of the video. I'll see you guys in the next segment where I talk about the manga and novels that I read this month. So yeah, see you guys in the next bit. Now we're going to be looking at all the manga that I've read here in my apartment. I might have a segment before this that is about novels, or I might not, I don't know. I haven't really figured it out yet, but this should be the second segment. And if it's not, it's a third. Hope that works. Okay, let's get into the manga that I read the first 18 days that I was here in my apartment before I went back to visit my parents again for the rest of the summer, because, you know, I don't have classes this summer. So I've been kind of bouncing around between my apartment and my parents' house. But anyway, whatever. Okay, let's start with Kengan Ashura 2, which is pretty cool. I liked it. It had 2 more fights in it. And it kind of developed these other characters, which is pretty interesting. We got to see a new director person that has a Kengan fighter, which is cool. It was a woman this time, which is interesting. And they were holding some sort of tournament, which is cool, in order to decide who their Kengan fighter was going to be. I'm pretty excited about this series. I definitely want to collect more of it, but it seems to come out not consistently. I'm not too sure exactly, because I thought Ibrea was really consistent about stuff, but maybe I just don't know the schedule for it. I thought it was every month, but maybe that's Kingdom and not Kengan Ashura. I'm not too sure, but can't wait for Volume 3. Then I read Volume 3 of Isaac, which is awesome. I really enjoyed this one. This one had a backstory to explain why Isaac is in Europe, which is cool. I liked it a lot. It was really interesting to see that Isaac's blacksmithing master wanted to be pacifist. He wanted to create these weapons and then be done. He was just doing it as a favor for the shogun. And then to see that he was going to leave his stuff to Isaac, but then greed struck his buddy Enzo, and then you know, he did the stuff that he did, and now they're fighting for the right to have both of these rifles, because there's a lot to it, but it's really, really good. I really enjoy it. I think the story is great, and I really like the art style, and just like the really clean art to it is really, really awesome. So yeah, can't wait to pick up more of this as well. Then Komi 18. It continues to be a Komi series, like the Komi series. There really isn't anything more I can say about the series. It's great. I really enjoy it. At this point, I'm reading it because I just like the characters and I'm invested in the series. It maybe isn't the best. It is spinning its wheels a bit at this point, but I think that it is still enjoyable to read. And for me, it's not just about it being a good story, as in like it moves along. It's also about just how I feel when I read this. And when I read Komi Can't Communicate, I feel really relaxed and really, really happy with what I'm reading. So even though it's not the best story ever, it makes me happy when I read it, and so I want to continue reading it. So that's why I'm going to continue to collect it until it's over. I think it's at 25 volumes in Japan right now, but it should be going on until like 30 or so, I think. I'm not too sure, but I can't really see it going past 40. So yeah, but it's kind of a long series anyways for, you know, a slice of life romance thing. But it's cool. I like it. I really enjoy it. It's really happiness inducing for me. Then we have Drifting Dragons 9. This is awesome. It's a great story. I really enjoy the art style. And this one actually has a bit of backstory for Vanabelle, which is interesting. She's kind of the mysterious character most of the time, which is cool. I quite like her a lot. And I actually like the stuff that they introduce here. There's a lot of world building. There's this development of these like man killer god level type dragons, and we get to meet one of them called Tython the Stormbringer, who is a dragon that drags lightning behind it and it hurls it at ships in order to kill them, which is really, really badass. It's really, really cool. I just really, really enjoyed this this chapter of this manga, or this volume of this manga. I thought it was great. I love this manga so much. I can't wait to get my hands on number 10 and 11 when it comes out later this year. So yeah, then I read Yagan volumes 1, 2, 3, 3 and 4, and I really enjoyed it. Yagan is really wild. It starts kind of slow, pretty exciting but kind of slow, and then it kind of becomes a little bit more introspective. It deals with this character and his ideas and what it means to, you know, be basically a superhero, what it means to have these powers, and what it means to, you know, have this this blade, you know, over his head, right? This what's it called? What is the name of that sword? You know, the one that hangs over your head in Greek mythology. I can't remember. But the point is that the Sword of Damocles, maybe? I don't know. The point is that he basically has a limited amount of time to live left, and he has to use that time in order to battle these monsters. But he has to balance that, because if he feels any emotion too strongly, he will become one of these monsters. And so there's a lot of like turmoil within him as well, that is compounded by the fact that, you know, there's more people like him that he didn't know about. There's emotional situations with characters he knows. It's a lot of stuff. And I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I'm so happy I bought more of it. And if all goes well, hopefully, maybe, possibly, I should be buying the rest of the series up to volume 14, which is the last volume, this coming summer, this July, when I go to Mexico. But honestly, I don't know, because there's so many series that I want to buy. I want to buy more Saint Seiya. I want to buy more Shaman King. I want to buy more Yu Yu Hakusho. There's a lot of stuff that I want to buy from Panini, and I don't know if I'll be able to, you know, force myself to just buy one series or buy a lot of them. I will try my best to buy mostly Yagan, because I've already bought a few more volumes of the other series that I mentioned, but I don't know. It really depends on what I'm feeling at the moment when I'm at the shop, right? So yeah, anyway, let's get back to the reading log. So then I read Vinland Saga, and the reason why I basically rushed to read these, I had a lot of time. It's not like I really rushed, but the reason why I pushed myself to read these is because I didn't really want to have to take them with me, take them home, and then bring them back, because that's just annoying. But yeah, so volume 1, good stuff. I really enjoyed this one in and of itself. The first time I read the second one, I liked it a lot. I thought the turning point for Canute is good, but it wasn't as like exciting as the first one. And then the same thing with the third one, whereas the fourth one was really exciting. But reading them all together in one go was glorious. It was so awesome. The story unfolded in such a fast, exciting pace. It was so cool. I really, really enjoyed this first arc. And it was really, really good. I really enjoyed it a lot on the reread. However, it does kind of shift focuses a little bit when it starts the second arc, the Farmland arc. However, it does actually manage to reach those really exciting highs that you got from the first arc, the war arc, which is really exciting. I thought that was really cool. So here's 5, 6, which was a really good volume, actually. I really like the storyline that is depicted here. I thought it was interesting. And 7 to round out the arc, which was really good as well. I have never been as excited as I was reading this about pacifism. Like, pacifism is such a key moment, key point in this story, because it's not just pacifism. It's not like the way of the leaf in the Wheel of Time that basically doesn't actually work. This is like pacifism that works because this guy has an immense, like, strong will. Like, it's so cool. And the interaction Thorfinn and my boy Canute have is great. I really, really liked it. And then here is the Eastern Expedition arc, the beginning of it, and it's really fun, actually. I really enjoy it. I think this new character Gudrid, who I think is this character here, is really fun, actually. She brings a lot of levity and a lot of enjoyment to the series that was kind of missing in the first two arcs. Like, the first two arcs are really hardcore. I mean, I guess the first arc had Torquil, and the second arc didn't really have a funny character, but the interaction between Snake and Mr. Sverkel are pretty funny, I guess, or they can be at some point. So I don't know. I think there was some comedy there, but I think that Gudrid brings a lot more comedy and a lot more excitement. And this volume ends in such a good cliffhanger. I'm so excited to see what happens next, but I don't know when I'll buy it. Hopefully there's a sale at Madness over the summer for 4th of July, hopefully. I think there was one last year. So if they have a buy 3 for 2 sale, I'll definitely go pick up more Vinland Saga. But man, Vinland Saga is awesome. It's so amazing. I don't know how Makoto Kimura does it, because you would think that a story about a guy that wants to be a pacifist, you know, after he goes on a crazy killing spree, would not be that enjoyable, right? Like, the first part probably is really enjoyable, but the second part, when he deals with his guilt, is not exactly exciting. But Makoto Yukimura manages to make it sublime, man. Like, it's so cool. It's so exciting. It's so enjoyable. It's so badass, man. I don't know. The Vinland Saga is awesome. I'm kind of upset that it took me so long to get so many volumes of it, because it was like not really a priority. Like, I liked it and I wanted to read more of it, but I would always pick something else because it was cheaper to buy it over, these $22 volumes, which is kind of ridiculous because they cost exactly what 2 volumes of manga cost, so they really aren't that expensive. But I would just kind of make it an excuse in my mind and focus on other things. And I really am upset that I did that because I should have been reading this a while back. This stuff is awesome. I really, really enjoy Vinland Saga so much. It's definitely gonna go on my list of best manga of 2022 for sure because it's so good, man. So far, I think I have Vinland Saga, Boichi's Origin, Mary Grave, and I think that's it. I don't know any other manga that I really think is top tier. Oh, Heartgear. Heartgear, Vinland Saga, Boichi's Origin, and Mary Grave are probably my in my top 10 list for the year so far. So I definitely want to pick up the pace and read some more epic stuff because, man, it's gonna be tough this year. I've been reading a lot of great stuff. So yeah, let's talk about all the stuff that I read when I got home. So the last thing I remember reading before I came home was the last episode, or the last volume of Vinland Saga that I had, which is volume 8, and it was really great. I really enjoyed it. And it took me a few days when I got home after I got COVID, and I was like, you know what, screw this. I don't really feel like doing anything anymore. I stopped reading for a few days, and I got back to it, and I got back into it with Solo Leveling Volume 4. Really good stuff. I really enjoyed it. This one goes through the Jeju Island arc, and it basically finishes it up, and then starts this new, more political kind of situation with Jinwoo and his guild, which is really cool. I'm really happy with it. I don't really want to say too much since I already did a review for it, but it's really, really good. Buy Solo Leveling. It's a really great manga and a light novel. I also bought Solo Leveling Volume 4, and I read it, and it was really, really good as well. This one is still back in Volume 2, I think. This one is where they get to the Red Gate, and Jinwoo gets to murder a bunch of bears, and he finally activates his Rise thing, and he gets some cool bad guys to be his minions, right? So yeah, then I read Star Wars High Republic, The Light of the Jedi, which is actually a really, really good book. When Star Wars High Republic started, I was pretty upset with it because the way that they marketed it was very, like, in line with the really crappy, like, not very well-written kind of gender politics leaning type stuff, which I don't really have an issue with. Like, it's not for me. I don't really have, gender politics views or anything like that. But, a lot of those things were really marketed really badly, and it just didn't feel appealing at all. And I'm pretty sure that High Republic was initially brought up around the same time as a lot of those, like, comic books with, like, characters called Snowflake and stuff like that. And I didn't really have a good opinion on the series, but, time passed. And I eventually decided, a lot of people are saying it's good. Let me check it out. And it actually was. It's really, really good. It's really interesting. There really isn't any of the like over-the-top type of identity politics things that you would think, which is really good because I don't really mind those things, and I'm actually quite happy with some of them sometimes, but a lot of the times, even though I don't have an issue with the actual things that they're talking about, the way it's handled feels very annoying. Like, it's just so over the top and, like, on the nose, and it doesn't feel like meaningful because it's like, hey, look, let me show you that I care about whatever identity that you're in, right? And I think that they handled the very little, identity type things here really well. There was these two gay characters that were handled really nicely, very eloquently, very, subtly, that managed to be like, hey, these are outwardly very clearly gay people. They outright say it. And they also don't have to be like this sideshow to be like, hey, look at these gay people, like a lot of times in books and stuff like that have these identity things tend to be like that. And I really appreciated that because, these people are not wanting to be seen that way, right? Or like, at least I wouldn't want to be seen that way if I was, in their camp, right? I would I don't really enjoy that, right? Like I'm Mexican. When people like are outwardly like, hey, look at these Mexican people in this TV show, I'm like, I don't want to see that. Like, let me just experience that they're Mexican without it, like, the show pointing at it. Like, hey, look, there's brown people, you know? So I think they did a really good job at handling that here. I also just really enjoyed it. I thought the story was really good. It was really interesting. There's some questions that I have about how the world in Star Wars goes from what's in here with this very, specific, very meaningful Jedi technology into what we see in the prequels. But other than that, it was really well done, and I'm really happy with reading it. I'm happy that I bought the second one already because I definitely want to get into it here soon. And then that's all I read. There's stuff I didn't get to read, which I'm kind of sad about. But I do still have a bit of time left. I have the rest of this day and all of tomorrow. So my plan is to hopefully finish reading The Red Rising. This is about 300 pages. Maybe actually 400 pages. But so was the other one, and I read that in about 2 days. So hopefully I'll get to finish this. If I don't, it's no big deal. And other than that, I'm just sad that I didn't get to read some stuff. So I never got around to reading Ranking of Kings, even though I wanted to. Mostly because reading in a language that I'm not, all that comfortable with is a very taxing thing. And I haven't really felt ready to tackle that endeavor. So I didn't really want to. And so I just haven't done it. But I probably will here soon in the next month or two. But no rush on that one. I'm also quite sad that I didn't get to read the Saga of Tanya the Evil. But this book is so fucking dense that it's really hard to get into the mood to read it. So I'm not going to take this with me to Mexico or anything. I'm just going to leave it here and just get around to reading it when I get around to reading it. But yeah, it's not a big deal. I don't really have a rush to get rid of it or anything like that. I just wanted to. But, I managed to get enough cash out of selling other manga, so it's fine. And then I didn't get to read Shadow Rising again, and I'm pretty upset about that because I've been wanting to read this for fucking ever. However, I'm just not going to care anymore. I'm going to keep it with me. I'm going to take it with me everywhere, and if I get around to reading it, I'm going to get around to reading it. If I don't, I don't, and that's just it. I think, honestly, the Wheel of Time TV show really tanked my enjoyment of the series quite a lot because it just didn't handle itself well. And getting back into that world has been kind of boring. And so that's just why I haven't been reading any more of it. But yeah, that's all I did this month. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. And thank you guys very much for watching. See you guys later.